Hi, thanks so much for joining me to catch up on today's news for Wednesday, May the 20th. This is the List Up Girl podcast, your daily LGBTQ plus news podcast, and I'm your host, Zach Randall-Friedman. Today, we got 7 stories to cover. A federal judge shredding the DOJ for going after trans kids' medical records. A Kentucky primary happening right now with an ad calling us the Gay Mafia, and so much more. So let's get into it starting with the federal judge. He torches the Department of Justice over trans youth medical records. A Rhode Island federal judge has voided a Department of Justice subpoena demanding that Rhode Island hospital turn over 6 years of confidential medical records for every transgender minor who received gender-affirming care. And she did not hold back. Judge Mary McElroy called the DOJ's demand a fishing expedition conducted in bad faith. She wrote that the DOJ has proven unworthy of its trust at every point in this case. She also caught DOJ lawyers in what she described as a misrepresentation to a Texas judge that had sworn the hospitals hadn't communicated with them since February, when in reality the two sides had been emailing just 2 days before the DOJ went to Texas to enforce the subpoena. Reckless disregard for the duty of candor owed to a federal court, the judge wrote. Appalling. The DOJ and an immediate appeal to the First Circuit. This is the 8th federal court to block the limit of the administration's campaign against hospitals providing trans care to minors. The administration keeps shopping these cases to friendlier courts in Texas, and judges keep saying no. They are obsessed with transgender people. Obsessed. I've never seen anybody more obsessed with anything. Next, in Kentucky, the Gay Mafia. Primary is happening today. Today, voters in the 4th Congressional District are deciding the most extensive House primary in American history, with over $32 million in ad spending, and our community has been dragged right into the middle of it. Incumbent Representative Thomas Massie, who is extremely anti-LGBTQ+, is being primaried by the Orange convicted felons-backed challenger Ed Garwin. A PAC supporting Massey released an ad calling Garwin brought and paid for by the LGBTQ mafia, because one of Garwin's major donors, Paul Singer, is a Jewish Republican billionaire whose son is gay and who supports marriage equality. The ad flashed a rainbow color and Star of David. It warned the weirdos will take over if Garland wins. The other side ran AI-generated deep fakes. Both candidates have been attacked each other for not being anti-LGBT enough. None of these men is our ally, but how our community gets weaponized as a slur in a $32 million campaign, that is our story, and we will follow with the results. Next, the Orange convicted felon is dismantling PEPFAR, and experts say HIV programs will crumble. This one is global, and it matters enormously to our community. The Orange Convicted Felons Administration has struck what HIV experts are calling the final blow to PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, a program that has saved an estimated 26 million lives since George W. Bush launched it in 2003. As of May 5th, the State Department issued guidance saying CDC support for PEPFAR programs will end in most countries by September 30th of this year. Countries will receive PEPFAR funding directly and can choose to pay the CDC for help as a fee-for-service arrangement rather than receiving that support as part of the program. HIV experts say this will cause the program to crumble. The CDC has been operating in 46 countries, providing HIV surveillance, lab support, specimen transport, and treatment expertise. That infrastructure does not get rebuilt overnight, and it comes as the administration is also withholding PEPFAR funds. Congress already allocated close to $6 billion, even as key programs are on the brink of shutting down. The LGBTQ plus community knows what happens when the HIV safety net disappears. We lived through it, and this is not abstract. As I was reading this story, it made me realize when we talked about George W. Bush launched this program in 2003. Remember the time where we all thought George W. Bush was not a great president? What would we do to have somebody like him back now instead of who we have now? God, he's nothing compared to the Orange convicted felon. We miss you, George W. Bush. I'll say that. Next, the Trevor Project survey, LGBTQ plus youth mental health is getting worse. Early this month, the Trevor Project released its 2025 national survey on mental health of LGBTQ plus young people, the largest study of its kind, based on responses from more than 1,600 LGBTQ young people ages 13 to 24 across the United States. The findings are sobering. LGBTQ plus youth continue to report high rates of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and suicide attempts. Young people who reported living in very accepting communities attempted suicide at a less than a third rate of those who did not. And 85% of transgender and non-binary youth said the debates around anti-trans legislation have negatively impacted their mental health. We reported the Trevor Project's 90-day crisis line was losing federal funding back on one of our earlier episodes. The survey shows the consequences of that in real time. If you or someone you know needs support, the Trevor Project hotline is available 24/7. Call or text 988 and ask for the LGBTQ plus line or visit thetrevorproject.org. Next, NYC Pride Grand Marshals revealed. So we need to take a breath. New York City Pride just provided one. Grand Marshals for the 2026 New York City Pride March, happening June 28th, have been announced, and the lineup is everything. Leading the march will be Peppermint, Dominique Jackson, Bowen Yang, Bernie Wagonblast, Love You Bernie, and the Gays Against Guns. Peppermint, Drag Race Season 9 runner-up, the first openly trans woman to originate a principal role on Broadway, and the ACLU first ever artist ambassador for trans justice. Dominique Jackson, iconic from Pose, love her, a ballroom legend, a woman who has been speaking her truth about trans lives for decades. Bowen Yang, ex-SNL cast member, the first Chinese American in the show's history, Emmy winner, who told organizers simply, please remember to drink water on the day, and Gays Against Guns, founded in the immediate aftermath of the Pulse nightclub massacre 10 years ago, still showing up and still fighting. This year's theme is For All of Us, and the march airs live on WABC Channel 7. Be there if you can. New York City Pride is so amazing. So if you were planning on going or you live in the New York City area, you should definitely attend. It is such a wonderful day. Next, UK mother sues all-girls school for admitting a trans student. Across the Atlantic, a mother in East Yorkshire, England, is suing Beverly High School because the school admitted a transgender girl without notifying parents. Joanna Donahue found out through her daughter's conversation with a friend. She emailed the school, who correctly told her that they cannot share private student information. She escalated through the local MP, still nothing. Now she's filed a judicial review arguing the school adopted an unlawful secret policy allowing trans girls to attend. At the center of this case is a trans girl who is simply going to her school. Her existence is now the subject of a lawsuit and national media coverage. The case builds on last year's UK Supreme Court ruling, Sex Under the Equality as Biological Sex, and it shows how legal frameworks are now being used to put targets on the backs of trans kids just trying to get an education. I mean, what does this mother really think that's going to happen? Her daughter's going to school with a trans girl? I mean, what is that hurt? Is that hurting her? Is that hurting her daughter? No, it's not. Let the little girl live her life. Let her be a transgender girl and live her life. She's a Karen. That's what this woman is. Next, 517 anti-LGBTQ bills in 2026, and that's before Pride Month. So we close with a number, just one number. According to the ACLU, Republican legislators across the country have already introduced at least 517 anti-LGBTQ plus laws in 2026. 517. And Pride Month hasn't even started yet. These bills target gender-affirming care, bathroom access, school curriculum, sports, legal identity, library books, drag, healthcare in prisons, and more. Many have already passed. New York City Pride's Grand Marshals named the number as the context for what Pride 2026 means. The theme For All of Us isn't a celebration, it's a declaration that 517 bills later, we are still here. And that's the news for Listen Up Girls. 7 stories, a judge saying no to the DOJ, a Kentucky race weaponizing our community as a slur, trans youth telling researchers and anti-trans legislation is hurting them in the data, not just in theory, and our grand marshals are ready for a fight. And don't forget, the trans girl in England is just trying to go to class, and 517 reasons why we all need to show up for this Pride season. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a few friends. Please leave a review or a comment on my podcast. That helps get my podcast in front of more people. Take care of yourselves, and I'll be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news. Thank you for listening.